The next Renaissance, a civilization built on art. So what are some of the current ideas that are aiming to reshape this human construct that we live in? So I found out there's actually quite a few, but I really wanted to just limit it down because this is a really heavy subject. Like, this could be like a whole day lecture, a whole day seminar. This could be like a week's long symposium if it really wanted to be. It's so in depth. It's just not enough time to put all this information in one video. But some of the current ideas is, one idea is called Solarpunk. And this has a focus on envisioning a sustainable future where technology, art, and nature coexist. It also encourages eco-friendly urban planning, renewable energy, and community-driven economies. So, for example, you've got things like, visual examples that you can see today. You've got things like vertical forests in Milan. So some buildings that will have have vegetation, whether that's on the roof or on the side of the building, way of integrating nature into the built environment. You've got like green architecture in Singapore. You've got like DIY sustainable fashion, which you're kind of starting to almost see now. You've got more sustainable emphasis on fashion creeping its way into the industry. You've got permaculture communities. So this is sustainable ecosystems that support both people and nature, often through community gardens, shared resources, and sustainable practices. You also see a bit of that here, because in the UK you've got things like community gardens as well. People have access to a bit of land that people can manage by themselves and grow their own vegetables, and it's part of the community. So that's something that you can see today in the UK, maybe in some parts of different countries as well. Some of the inspiration from Solarpunk has also come from buildings called earthships. You can see there's an interesting documentary, might be out there on YouTube, but there's some examples of this in the USA, in a desert somewhere, where a community got together. They built their own houses made from sustainable, like recycled materials like bottles and mud. They produced their own electricity, water system, all self-sufficient, contained within their own individual homes. So some of this inspiration feeds into this Solarpunk movement. Maybe I'll see if I can put a link in the description below, and you can check that out as well. It's really interesting. So think, eco buildings, and maybe think desert. We're not in a desert, but some parts of the world are in deserts. But interesting thing, check it out. Another current idea is Artivism. So that's art and activism. This has its roots in 1997. So it was from a gathering group of artists based in Chicago in the USA. They were using art as a tool for political and social change. They were addressing issues such as climate change, racial injustice, LGBTQ rights, and economic inequality. They're also anti-war and also anti-globalism. Some examples include, Banksy, the street artist, Ai Weiwei, and his human rights sculptures, feminist guerrilla art groups like Guerrilla Girls. So this is really using art as a political or an activist tool to evoke change and new ideas and thinking about the world we're living in. So obviously there's a lot of movements that are currently present, but I've just selected a couple from here that could fit into the central theme of art, and how this can help potentially shape a new civilization. But there's also some other movements that are quite interesting and thought-provoking as well. And, all of this is grounded in reality. Sometimes when people think about, they think about the utopia, it's, humans have a lot of ability. A lot of the things we see in this world is based upon ideas became a reality. And a lot of these things here are all based upon reality, things that are actually, existing in this world. They're not fairy tales. So that's another reason why I chose them. Some more examples. We've got the Venus Project, and this is a project, an organisation based out in the USA, and they advocate, resource-based economy. So this is really focusing on the resources that the planet Earth has, or within our kind of solar system, vicinity, if you want to call it, and using those resources to effectively distribute and allow access, fair access to everyone, so everyone can benefit. Rather than focusing on this kind of scarcity mindset, which we currently live in. Obviously there is some aspect of scarcity because we have limited resources, but on the other hand, what they're trying to advocate here is that yes, there is scarcity, but if you manage things properly, there's enough resources for everyone to enjoy. And so they're heavily focused on technology to solve problems through things like automation, robotics, and they also have supercomputers as well. We're also starting to see the rise of supercomputers like quantum computing. This probably also feeds into it as well. And these supercomputers can also help manage potential economies as today and into the future. And we AI as well. This is getting more smart, more advanced. This is another thing that could also feed into that as well. They also don't see a need for money, as resources are shared and produced in abundance, and technology makes this more accessible for everyone. So it kind of eradicates the need for money, because technology's got to a point now where you can produce a lot of things, and potentially in the future we'll get to a point where it can produce a lot of things at so much of a lower cost that maybe in the future we'll get to the point where money might not be actually needed. And also it kind of eliminates the kind of scarcity aspect in some way, because there is AI, robotics and automation and whatnot producing a lot of the services that we need. So another way to think about this is think Star Trek. If you ever watch Star Trek, they're heavy in that universe. They're heavily focused on technology to provide their needs for civilization, and they've gotten to the point where the technology is so advanced that they don't need money, because they got a replicator that can just magically they can takes atoms or whatever and changes the structure of that into a physical object of any object of choice to exist in reality. So they got to that level of technical achievement where scarcity isn't an issue. So in that case, they don't need money to run their civilization. I'll put the link to that project in the link below. Another one is UBI, Universal Basic Income. And you probably hear this in the news sometimes, because leaders around the world are constantly thinking about the rise of automation, robotics and AI displacing a lot of people's jobs. So they're kind of thinking, okay, when this does happen, when more people's jobs do become displaced, we needed a system to supplement people's income, which I believe will happen at some point. It could, in theory, it could happen for the benefit of humanity, or it could happen for the benefit of the companies who hold those technologies, But this is one potential outcome. Have a sum of money from a central organisation like government or other central authority to cover basic needs like food, housing and healthcare when more people's jobs become displaced by technology. And so this would provide like a guaranteed income for people. And they could use this to pursue other things like education or creative work, entrepreneurship or caregiving, instead of just working to survive. And that could also reduce financial anxiety, leading to better mental health and social well-being. And this, social well-being, mental health, that's an outcome that can also be demonstrated through the Venus Project and through these other projects as well. I'll see if I can put a link in the description below about that as well. And then you've got the circular economy. This is something that's currently being implemented within this current system that we're living in. And it's a system designed to eliminate waste, make the most out of resources, by keeping materials in use for as long as possible. So it contrasts with the traditional linear economy that we used to have, or that we still kind of do have, but we're kind of like transitioning out of. The linear economies where it's just like, say, like I produce this pillow and I use it and then I throw it away, it ends up in a landfill, and that's where it stays for the remainder of its life. Circular economy is basically like, okay, I buy this pillow, I use it, when I'm finished with it, I take it back to the recycling centre and they take that pillow and they transform it back into a new pillow. So that's what the circular economy entails. It's all about, taking products from the production line, and when it's done with its life cycle, it goes back into the production line, turns into a new product. So this reduces reliance on new materials. And so as a consequence, there's less mining, deforestation and pollution. And it also can encourage sustainable design, long-lasting, repairable, and upcycling can or could replace mass consumption. So this got me think about repair calf. You have now repair calves. This is like a new thing that's come out of the circular economy. You might have seen them in your local town or village. You have we get them here in the UK. You have it's usually a group of volunteers that'll come into your local area, and you can bring like this pillow is broken, I'll bring this in, and they'll cut and to the repair calf and they'll fix it for you. Yet they also advocate cuts to waste and emissions, again leading to sustainable, climate-friendly future. So that's another model, but it's existing within this current overall model that we live in.